Great, good afternoon. Yesterday I had an opportunity to share with you some of the philosophy around how we think about investing in clean tech, as well as how that philosophy might drive towards the way you might start a company or invest in clean technologies as an enterprise. And so what I thought I'd do today was asked to go through perhaps some of the examples of companies in our portfolio that would represent the black swans that I talked about yesterday. So for those of you who weren't part of the presentation yesterday, I'm one of the partners at Khosla Ventures. We're a global investment firm that's based in Silicon Valley. We have 6 partners managing about $3 billion of committed capital, and we have 2 different funds that we invest out of. Very importantly, an early stage $300 million seed fund that invests in early stage science experiments. If you have a technology out of Chung, Caltech, MIT, NUS, we might be the first folks to put money into the investment. And when those investments grow up, we have a $1 billion main fund that can invest at that time. And we have the largest clean tech VC portfolio in the world with over 60 companies. One of the important things that we talked about yesterday was the idea of being willing to fail and why that's a very important driver for how we think about investments. And so I think as you think about the next several investments I'm going to talk about, hopefully that will play in your head. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, where we have a very broad and deep mandate within the clean tech area to look at different technologies to solve the sustainability question. And again, the defining problem of our time that we talked about yesterday is how do you transform today's infrastructure and reinvent that infrastructure in order to help billions of people out there get access to energy, food, resources, and water. So this is a sampling of the areas and, of course, the companies that we've actually invested in across these areas. I'm going to talk about 6 of these today, and before I get to that, just to address some of the criteria that we use as we look at clean tech investments. So this is one VC's version of that. First is revolutionary technology. Part and parcel to the willingness to fail and the willingness to take the high risk is being able to identify products or services that are so disruptive that they fundamentally transform the course of that industry. So instead of it being a 5% energy density improvement or a 20% efficiency improvement in solar, we're looking for fundamentally transformative, multiplicative, step function changes in the technology. Of course, we're looking for massive markets, so regardless of which area you look at within the clean tech area, you can often find addressable markets that are tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars of market opportunity. We look for disruptive economics. In the clean tech area, we have a lot of commodity players that are driving macro-led pricing. And in order to win in these markets, you need to have disruptive economics and a performance level that fundamentally, again, shifts the balance of power in those industries. A lot of folks talk about capital efficiency. We prefer to talk about it as capital flexibility. We recognize that a lot of these industries are very capital intensive, but there's ways to create technology opportunities that are so compelling that folks are actually willing to fund your plant development and willing to pay for your plants. We're going to talk about that in a few moments. A viable go-to-market strategy. Many of these industries are dealing with utilities, municipalities, local governments that aren't typically willing to spend money. There's a lot of inertia in place in a lot of these industries. And so having a viable go-to-market strategy where you can get distribution, get the customer value prop so compelling that these industries are willing to move is very important. And then last but not least, having A-plus entrepreneurs that combine entrepreneurial DNA, domain expertise, and scale experience. So I'll go through a couple of the potential black swans, and I'm going to go through this very quickly so that I can give you a sampling of some of the technologies that we've invested in at Khosla Ventures. First is Kior, which is a biofuel company. This company is able to convert wood chips, woody biomass, and different types of switchgrasses into crude oil through a 2-step biomass fluid catalytic cracking process that converts the usual process of transforming these materials into oil from millions of years into seconds. It's the only technology out there today with a fuel competitive cost. The only technology. Most of the other companies out there have a technology cost curve that they can continue riding down. Kior is at that fuel competitive cost today, which is a very important piece of it. In terms of the capital flexibility, of course, we went public last year, as many of you might know. The company went public. Khosla Ventures owned about half of the company. So from that $1.5 billion market cap, we were able to generate a return of over $700 million, which was very compelling. In terms of proving that you can actually make money in investing in clean tech. But more importantly, it set the stage for a number of things to happen, which is once we have a commercial facility in place, the next step is going to be cookie cuttering that and replicating that. And so the next stage of financing is going to be taking an existing facility that proves the economics today and multiplying that over, which will be a very important step in showing that we can finance this company for the long term. The company is going to be the first to get to commercial production capability, and importantly, it's producing a bio-crude, which can be further refined into a broad range of products that are compatible with all engines, cars, and trucks, which makes the go-to-market strategy much easier and more compelling. And if, for those of you who have ever looked into the entrepreneurs behind it, you'll see that we brought together a world-class team that brings together top scientists, industry executives who have a lot of experience in building the partnerships necessary to scale this up, and folks who have had experience in building large plants and scaling those to effective economics. Sora is in the LED lighting space. This is a technology that comes out of University of California, Santa Barbara, that is doing gallium nitride deposited on bulk gallium nitride. It's the only technology in the world that's been able to accomplish this, and the result is an LED platform that is 5 times better luminosity per unit area than anything else on the market. What does that mean? For a typical LED light bulb, when you have 5 points of light, 5 LEDs in an LED light bulb, you need to have complex optics in order to have it shine in one direction. You need a lot of energy in order to power it. In some cases, it gets so hot, you actually have a little fan inside of the bulb keeping it cold. So by being able to do 5x the amount of luminosity per unit area, you can have a single point source of light, which means we can have a much more compelling design, it's a much cheaper product, and it consumes a lot less heat, and we can vertically integrate and design very, very elegant and beautiful, aesthetically pleasing light bulbs using this product. It's obviously a large market. Many of the countries around the world are already banning incandescence and compact fluorescence, so LEDs are going to be the right technology once cost position gets to the right level. And because you're only using 1 point source LED per bulb, you're getting a much, much cheaper product. It's going to be the only product on the market that has less than 1 year payback, and it's 80% efficient, more efficient than incandescence. On the capital side, a very critical part of the capital story here is we can leverage existing manufacturing equipment. So you don't have to invest in new types of equipment technology that are typically more expensive. And again, on the go-to-market strategy side, because you're dealing with a single point source of light, the ability to design a product around this is much simpler and allows you to build the partnerships that you need in order to penetrate the market. On the entrepreneurial side, we invested in the inventor of the blue-gray laser, Shuji Nakamura from Sony, who invented that technology over 20 years ago. And so he invented this type of laser product that he converted into an LED platform, and surrounding him are a number of world experts in LED technology. Ecomotors is in the transportation space. So much ado is being made about electrification of vehicles, which is an important potential solution for the future. Ecomotors is developing the next generation of internal combustion engines that can support existing manufacturing infrastructure and vehicle infrastructure. It's a 2-cycle, a post-piston, a post-cylinder engine. What you get from that is an engine that performs at the same level with half the size, half the weight, 20% lower cost, and potentially 20 to 50% better fuel economy. So that compares to a hybrid technology or an electric vehicle technology that might cost 3 to 5 times more expensive than your traditional drivetrain when you factor in the batteries. So if this technology is able to be commercialized, it completely changes the game in the internal combustion engine world, which is a currently $300 billion market globally. On the capital side, it's very capital flexible because we can use standard contract manufacturing. There's no complexity in the way that these engines are built. It's just the way that they're designed and the way that we run them that is the compelling part. The go-to-market has led to a very strong value proposition to customers that have given us powerful global customers. Navistar, which is the largest trucking manufacturer in the US, as well as Zhongding, which is the largest trucking manufacturer in China, have entered into agreements with Ecomotors to commercialize the technology. And earlier this year, Ecomotors delivered its first full-size engine to these partners for testing, which is exciting for us. The entrepreneurs behind the technology, one of them has delivered 7 engine technologies at Volkswagen during his career as the chief engine engineer there. Most folks would be happy if they've ever delivered 1 new engine technology. He's delivered 7. And the CEO of the company was a 30-year executive at GM who also spent time as president of Delphi and has commercialized a number of technologies in his own right. Stion is in the much beleaguered solar space. This company we invested in 6 years ago. We seeded the technology on the basis of finding thin film technology that have materials that can drive to the lowest cost position, but the highest possible efficiency. The design paradigm here was to be able to get to those high efficiencies and manufacture on thin film, but constraining your engineering so that you have to use existing manufacturing infrastructure. You're not inventing inkjet printing, you're not inventing a new type of equipment. You're using standard semiconductor manufacturing equipment. And that's what this company has done, and they have produced the highest efficiency thin film solar modules on the market today that are monolithically integrated. They're the most attractive looking solar panels out there as well, because it's one single black panel. There's no stringing and tabbing of cells. It's a very attractive looking product that is the lowest cost, and it's the only thin film product that has a path to over 20% efficiency by applying the process in a dual junction fashion. Back to the equipment. Part of the compelling nature of the capital requirements here is that you can take existing sputtering equipment and run it on those processes. So TSMC, which is one of the largest semiconductor manufacturers in Asia, invested $50 million into the company because they will be able to take their existing manufacturing fabs and run the process on them. So the risk for us has been that of materials risk, not around scale and manufacturing risk, which takes a very important part of the risk out of this equation. The entrepreneurs behind it, world-class scientists who were leaders in the photonics development area at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, which is one of the foremost institutions in the US. The CEO was previously the first CEO to get to 100 megawatts of scale-up in his prior career as the head of Siemens and Shell Solar, and he also commercialized the first thin film manufacturing at over a megawatt scale 20 years ago. Moving on to the battery space. Batteries, of course, as many folks have talked about, they're a holy grail aspect to the future of clean tech and the future of sustainability. Lithium-ion, we believe, has reached the end of its course. 5% improvements, folks get bonuses at lithium-ion companies. We're looking at multipliers of energy density improvement. Pelion is developing the world's first magnesium-ion battery platform that can intercalate properly. And what that leads to, because magnesium can take 2 electrons, lithium can only take 1 electron, you're starting off with a base of energy density that's twice as high. And because magnesium by nature is much safer than lithium as a chemistry, you can push the frontier on higher energy density without sacrificing on safety. So that adds to the ability to get higher than 2x energy density. We're also constraining the design paradigm here to use existing lithium-ion manufacturing equipment. So while A123, a lot of the Chinese lithium-ion manufacturers are fighting it out to drive down their costs and knocking each other out, we believe that we're going to have access to their manufacturing equipment for much cheaper, as well as the ability to partner with the ones who survive because they need the next generation platform. So that's a very critical part to how this can be capital flexible going up. The go-to-market strategy is that we're developing batteries that will be drop-in replacements for lithium-ion, and because they're higher energy density, we'll be able to get into broader markets. And we believe that consumer electronics companies, all the way up to automotive manufacturers, are going to want this product because it has the best energy density in the world. The entrepreneurs behind it include researchers in the field from MIT and Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, and we recently were able to get a CEO, a very technically oriented CEO, who was previously a C-level executive at a very prominent clean tech company in the field, which hopefully we'll announce in the next month. LanzaTech has previously been talked about, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it's essentially a platform that converts waste gas into fuels and valuable chemicals using a biochemical process. So Bao Steel, Baogang, which is the largest steel manufacturer in China, has entered into a joint venture with this company to commercialize their technology because Bao Steel is not allowed to grow unless they can do something about the waste gas that they're emitting through their plants. And so it's such a valuable technology to them that they're entering into a JV such that they will fund the development of any commercial plants going forward. LanzaTech is also currently in the process of negotiating with 7 or 8 other Fortune 500 companies to do a similar type of project development. I'm going to skip ahead to the last area that I'll talk about, which is grid-scale storage. LightSail is a company that's developing another holy grail technology for the future of clean tech, which is the ability to store megawatt scale energy, which in some sense replaces the need for smart grid. Because if you're able to store energy at any time during the day and release it at any other time during the day, you don't need that type of demand-side energy management at a second-by-second level. And so light sail is the only technology that we've seen that can scale to the right level of economics, that's not relying on a chemically based approach, it's a mechanical based approach using compressed air energy storage, which allows them to go to market more efficiently and more quickly at the lowest cost position than any other technology that we've seen. So in short, like I talked about yesterday, what we like to do at Khosla Ventures is think about inventing the future, investing in black swan type technologies that are very, very high risk, but if they work, they fundamentally transform the landscape of the particular vertical or the sector that we're talking about. Thank you.